Welcome to Madame Raven's. This way to the library. She's been expecting you.
Help! I'm trapped in a city of all women. There's a new queen in town. By Zithero. This is the reason I started writing on here, was because things have gotten crazy compared to the last 5 years. I know that's saying something, but I need to say this. I didn't think we could do worse than Rachel. I was wrong. After Lana refused to identify her attackers, Queen Rachel had a serious fit of rage and, well, dumped her. Hard. Lana's still in the head of the House of Hestia, but the house has lost some clout with the crown. Turns out, that was one of the main reasons Lana was in the bed with the queen, or so she said. Vera was there, of course, running to Lana's aid. They're back together as a couple. So for those curious about that bit of drama, Electra and Cassie, and a third woman named Bethany, didn't get off scot-free. I found out a few days later 3 of them were at a bar when a fight started up. Not one of them would say who they fought at the bar, but all 3 were in the hospital the next day. On a hunch, I asked Cassara about it, and her only response to my question, "Do you know anything about what happened last night?" was, "They were at the wrong bar." So yeah, I'm sure Cassara kicked the absolute crap out of him. She didn't have a mark on her. Word to the wise, don't get on Cassara's bad side. Demetra found Devon's rapist. Her name is Greta. She was the first soldier who found him. The others claimed she raped him before she radioed it in, and they did not understand what happened. Honestly, I don't believe a damn one of them, but there's no evidence, and even Greta wasn't rolling over on her friends. We only found out because, you guessed it, she was pregnant, and was not part of the raid that year. A paternity test in vitro proved that the baby she was carrying was Devon's. At Queen Rachel's insistence, the sentence was to be death. Greta appealed, of course, and she's lucky. She did so on a day that Rachel wasn't handling matters of the crown. She and Demetra were both handling some other issues that left Princess Ava to handle Greta's request. "Please, Princess, I beg of you," Greta groveled. "About 8 months pregnant. Let me live, please." Ava sat in the central throne, and I had to admit it was nice to see her there. She looked like she belonged. Ava fixed her with a narrow gaze. "2 people needed your help that day. While we helped the woman, it was your duty to help this man. But rather than help him and show the world of man that we are better than them," she paused, "you raped him. You sullied your name and all of Penthesil with your actions." The crowd shouted and booed. Greta withered. "Please, Your Grace." Ava held up her hand to silence the crowd. It took a moment or 2, but they quieted down. "Your crime is grave, but death," Ava said, looking over the crowd, "is too good for you." There were some concerned murmurings from everyone. "When your child is born, the House of Hestia will be entrusted with her care," Ava began. "I will imprison you for no less than 20 years. The crowd continued their jeering. Ava closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "Your daughter," she began, "will not know you." She opened her eyes. "As it is my decree, for as long as you are in prison, you may never meet your daughter." "No, Your Grace, please, I can't." She cradled her stomach. "She's mine. Please reconsider." Ava stood. It is this or death. Choose, Ava shouted. The room was dead silent. You can't make me. Ava's wings spread. Yes, I can. Greta looked down to the floor. You and your mother can go to hell. Take her away. I've made my decision, Ava shouted. The murmurs began. That Ava was worse than her mother. Crueler, even. But as I watched Ava sit on the throne, I saw that the decision weighed on her. When the child was born, they offered her to me. I know you all want me to take her, and Hilly did too, but I am terrible with kids. However, Alice was not, and she and Chloe had just had a boy they had to send to the men's village, so I figured I'd pass and offer the little girl to Alice and Chloe to care for. Lana had agreed, but I had one condition. I get to name her. I named her Devaney, after her father. Normally an Artie is reserved and stoic in the face of all things, but when I showed up with Devaney in my arms, Allie and Chloe were gushing over her. She looks like she'll be a strong one, Chloe said, smiling at her. You're a lucky woman, Madison. You and Hillary will be great parents. Well, I began, handing her to Alice. We aren't taking her. I thought you two would like to raise her as your own. Chloe stared at me, eyes going wet, and she grabbed me, picking me up and spinning me around. Praise Hera, thank you. I gasped as she squeezed the wind out of me. As I spun, I spotted Alice smiling at Devaney and rocking her gently. When I stopped spinning, I saw Alice mouth, "Thank you," to me. They imprisoned Greta, barred from even seeing Devaney. I thought that was just a punishment. I thought that was a just punishment as a note. And that brings us to current events. Ava and Zephyrina had left a few weeks ago on some kind of diplomatic envoy to the U.S. Well, Ava was supposed to go. Zephyrina was not. To say Rachel was angry when Zephyrina left without permission was an understatement. Alice made it a point to visit the men's village often so that Devaney could see her father. Devon had yet to wake up in all this time, but Alice thought it was important for her to see her father when she could, since, unlike other fathers, he couldn't come to visit during the family day, nor could he write or call. These days, Devon had a long beard that Alice and I liked to braid, much to Devaney's amusement. "Daddy's beard is pretty," Devaney shouted. Alice chuckled as the little girl gave it a gentle tug. "Daddy's lazy." Alice rolled her eyes. "You know Daddy can't wake up. He can't help it." Chloe smiled at him. "I hope he wakes up someday." Chloe smiled at him. "I hope he wakes up someday." I nodded. They have no idea when. Chloe chuckled. "It's funny, if he didn't have a child, they'd have likely pulled his plug." I'm glad he didn't get his plug pulled. To be honest, I've always held out some kind of hope he'd wake up. If he does, he's in for a surprise, that's for sure. To wake up with a kid and that kid having two mothers? Oh, he's in for a shock. It was on the way back from a visit to the men's village that things took a turn for the worst. As we drove through the gates of Penthesil, we heard gunfire. Chloe shoved us all down in the seats. I covered Alice and Devaney. Chloe grabbed the radio. "What the hell is going on?" "Hostility at the north wall. 3 combatants. They..." Static kicked in, followed by more gunfire. Chloe sped the Humvee down the street towards the palace. She pulled the truck over, got out, and pulled us out of the vehicle. "Get into the palace. It's the safest place," she said, pulling her gun from her back. "Chloe, no!" Alice shouted, holding Devaney's hand. "Stay with us. Protect us! I looked around at everybody running around in panic, and the world seemed a bit slow. As I turned to my right, I spotted Eurybia standing outside the Church of Eris. She was dancing. Eurybia looked to me and smiled. It's wonderful, is it not? I felt calm in all the panic and uncertainty everyone was facing. A voice whispered to me, Go into the palace. Chloe looked torn between rushing headlong into battle and staying with us. She looked around, seeing plenty of soldiers rushing towards the wall. We should go to the palace, I suggested to Chloe. Chloe didn't hesitate. Okay, let's go. She rushed us up the stairs. Chloe got to the stairs, running into Hillary and several royal guards. I'm here to help support the palace defenses, she fibbed. Hillary nodded. Get everyone inside the throne room. They ushered us inside, the sounds of gunfire peppering out in the distance. I witnessed Lana running in with several Hesties and children. Everyone into the palace. We'll be safe inside. Lana kept running back and forth, making sure everyone got inside. After a few minutes, it seemed there was no one else outside, and Lana ran in, speaking to Hillary. That's everyone from the House of Hestia. Hillary nodded, turning to her royal guard. Bar the doors. Protect the palace at all costs. The palace doors closed, and the soldiers barricaded them with a pair of large metal bars that slid into place from the opposite side of either door hinge. Alice kissed Chloe as Devaney hugged her mother's legs. Thank you for staying, Alice whispered. There was a woman shouting on Chloe's radio. The enemy is 3 women headed to the palace. I repeat, the enemy is headed directly to the palace. Over. Major Theodora Pelopoulos? Chloe frowned, looking to her radio. General Rhea came over the radio next, and I realized she was in the room with us. Major Theodora Pelopoulos, how did 3 combatants break your line? Over. It makes no sense, General. They have some kind of advanced weaponry I've never seen before. One woman is using some sort of lightning generator, and the others seem to be able to manipulate water and ice. We've been firing at them, but their leader's armor seems impervious to gunfire. Over. The radio squawked, and static overtook the radio. Major? General Rhea shouted into the radio. Tanya, report, over. More static came before the major shouted. The enemy is trying to breach the door, over. Rachel then stormed into the throne room. What the hell is going on? Demetra walked over to her. My queen, we are under attack. Then handle it, Rachel shouted. We are Valkyrie. Kill them! She growled, looking around. Every damn one of you is itching to fight every day. Now you get your wish. The radio crackled again with the major's voice. The enemy is at the door. I'm repositioning. Bar the door. Over. Demetra frowned. My queen, we should get to safety. Rachel glared at Demetra and walked to her throne, taking a seat. I will not cower in some safe room. If someone wants to take the throne, they need to remove me themselves. Demetra looked to the royal guards. Guardswomen, defend your queen to the last. All the women in red armor rushed over to the throne, Hillary taking point, closest to the door. The soldiers, led by General Rhea, were between the door and Hillary's guard. She turned to Cassara, who wasn't wearing a military uniform of any kind, just her usual trench coat and street clothes. I guess even her mother could challenge her on what she could wear. Cass, guard the queen. Cassara nodded and walked towards the throne. Rachel looked to Cassara. If I need your help, we're likely all dead anyway. Cassara leaned against a pillar near the throne. Then I pray I do not need anything. Rachel sat on her throne, her eyes on the door as they shuddered. The major's voice came over the radio again. She's just shoulder-checking the doors. It's one woman in some kind of heavy armor. It must enhance her strength somehow. It's just her slamming against the door. Over." Rachel's expression changed. She was smiling now, looking happy, which was more unnerving. This wasn't the normal, "I'm about to execute someone" face. There was an eerie sense of excitement coming over her. The doors shook again and the hinges pulled free from the wall. A few soldiers backed away and General Rhea held up her hand to them. "Stand clear of the doors, but hold your position." The soldiers readied their guns. Hilavy and the rest of the Royal Guard didn't flinch behind General Rhea's soldiers. As the door shook again, one of the metal barricades ripped itself free from the stone wall. The Major's voice cracked over the radio. "It's only one woman. The enemy has no protection. When the doors come down, hit her with everything you've got. That armor can't be completely invulnerable. Use armor-piercing rounds." "That's impossible," General Rhea growled. None of the soldiers moved, except to reload or change weapons. General Rhea then barked, "If those doors fall, fire, as Major Theodoropoulos suggested. Weapons hot. Armor piercing if you have them. Light 'em up." The doors broke. One ripped from its hinges and tumbled down to the floor, the metal barricades clattering to the ground. Chloe pushed Alice and Devaney behind her. "Fire at will," General Rhea shouted. I covered my ears as the soldiers began to fire at the doorway. A wall of ice stood in the doorway, stopping all of their bullets. A woman's alto voice called out from behind it. "Alexis, immobilize the infantry. Do not kill them." A higher-pitched voice chimed out. "Can't I play with their blood, mistress?" "No," the voice called out. The ice crashed to the ground and then blasted forward, spraying every one of us with an icy blast of air and snow. The soldiers were on the ground, either knocked out or frozen. Marching in were 3 women. The first, Alexis, whose green eyes were wide and wild, was a short girl with long blonde hair. She smiled wide to everyone. "What's up, bitches?" she cackled. She wore a black vest over a white long-sleeve shirt, and a black pair of pants leading to a matching set of boots. The second was a Middle Eastern woman standing behind her. She was about my height, with blonde hair, but her hair was in rows of long, tight braids. She also had the same eye color as a shorter woman, and wore the same outfit. Third stood a monster of a woman, clad in full-plate armor, walking in like some kind of white knight, was a monster of a woman, even by Penthesil standards. Her armor was bulky and looked like she made it out of stone, yet it was an off-white hue. On her back was a heavy blue cloak, with a silver omega emboldened on her back. Her hair was long and white. She looked to be in her late 50s. She had one side of her head shaved. The other side had a long braid down the side. Her eyes were a familiar violet. Her stature was familiar too. My heart skipped a beat as I had an epiphany. "Sapphirina?" I whispered. She looked so similar. Hilavy took aim at the woman. Before Hilavy could even react, a bolt of lightning arced across the room and collided with Hilavy's gun. Hilavy shook and collapsed to the ground. "Hilly?" I shouted, running to her. While we weren't much more than roommates, we had at least grown closer in the past years. Hilavy's hands were singed, but she was still breathing. The Middle Eastern woodman walked over to us, and I struggled to wrestle the gun from Hilavy's hands. She stopped me, looking to Hilavy. "Girl, do not try." Her eyes glowed yellow, and I could feel the hairs on my arm rise as the smell of ozone surrounded us. A few of the Royal Guards women rushed over to me and Hilavy, pulling us away and towards the throne. I saw the rest of the Royal Guard form up around Rachel. Rachel was now smiling at the door. "Rachel," the huge woman smiled, looking around the room. I very much like this place, she said as she appraised the soldiers and Hestes, who were now hiding inside rooms and behind turned-over banquet tables. Demetra and Theodora were next to Rachel behind the royal guard. Demetra glanced at Cassara, giving her a nod. Running at breakneck speed from the throne was a black and red blur. Cassara was diving at the huge woman, jumping into the air. Cassara struck her with a falling punch to the jaw, causing the woman to drop to one knee. "Mistress?" the Middle Eastern woman shouted. The mistress held her hand up, looking to Cassara. "I'm liking it here more and more. What's your name, girl?" "Don't call me girl," Cassara spat as she took a step back. She adjusted a pair of fingerless gloves and her glasses. "Cassara Nasaki," she narrowed her eyes. "And you?" The woman rose to her feet, looking down at Cassara. "Ragna Misho," she smiled. "Stand down. As strong as you are, you'll spare yourself some bruises if you retreat." "Are you kidding?" Cassara grinned, her eyes wide. "You're the first person to get up after a punch like that." She started to advance on Ragna. "You're bold to keep coming at me, girl," Ragna taunted. "I can't kick the shit out of you without getting closer," Cassara shouted, and rushed Ragna again. "Well, come on then," Ragna shouted back as she held up her hands, blocking Cassara's punches with loud metal clashing noises. Alexis was about to join before Ragna shouted at her. "Stand down, Alexis. This one is mine." Ragna smiled, swinging a punch at Cassara. Cassara dodged, grinning. "You're too slow, you old hag," she said as she dodged behind Ragna, giving a kick to her back. Ragna didn't move. "I only need to hit you once, girl." And with that she spun around faster than I'd expected, punching at Cassara. Cassara blocked it with her forearm. The sound of metal on metal rang out. Ragna smiled. "Hidden armor. A nice touch." Cassara grinned back and reached to Ragna's shoulder. She pulled at the cloak, dragging it over her head to blind her. To all of our shock, it revealed a pair of graying black wings on her back. Huge feathery wings to match her size. Ragna ripped the cloak off and moved to strike Cassara. Cassara jumped backwards, cracking her knuckles, ready for another bout, an excited smile on her face. "Cassara!" Rachel shouted. Ragna and Cassara both faced the throne. "Stand down," Rachel said, smiling wide. "All of you, stand down." "Your Grace, are you mad?" Demetra shouted. "This woman has attacked us." Rachel beamed, pushing past her royal guard. "Only because you don't know who she is," Rachel said, as she got closer to Ragna. "Yet." Cassara backed away, glaring at Rachel as she got near them. Ragna turned to Rachel. "My Amaranthine." "My love." Rachel reached up and kissed Ragna. Ragna's arms wrapped around Rachel as she deepened the kiss. My jaw hit the ground as I watched the scene before me. Everyone was murmuring and asking questions among themselves as the spectral unfolded before us. Ragna's hair began to shift color, darkening from white to black. Her skin changed, wrinkles vanished as she appeared younger. Her wings went from gray to a jet black color, which made the pit of my stomach drop. When Rachel broke the kiss, she smiled up at Ragna. "You missed me that much, my love?" Ragna's hand ran through Rachel's hair. "Yes." Rachel grinned. "I have a gift for you." She picked the crown off her head. "This is yours now," she said as she placed the crown on Ragna's head. Then she glanced to everyone. "As they are." Cassara was glaring daggers at Rachel. and I looked to see Demetria's fists both clenched. Ragna appraised all of us with a grin. Really now? Rachel stepped away. Everyone. If I may introduce you to my and your new queen. She knelt before Ragna. Queen Ragna Misho. Ragna shook her head. No. She looked to everyone who began to kneel. Not queen, my sweet. A queen holds sway over one country. She looked around, smiling to all of us. You'll address me as Empress. Cassara stormed out of the shattered doors as everyone else knelt, though the mood was far from celebratory. Hillevi sat up, groaning as she came to. What happened? I frowned to her. We lost. Hillevi and I returned home. Praise Eris, I whispered as I walked in. Do you always have to do that? Hillevi said, concerned. Yes, because I'm safe. So that's thanks to Eris, I reminded. My faith always unnerved Hillevi, but it has served me well so far. It wasn't more than a beat or two later that there was banging at the door. Hillevi frowned, opening the door to see Demetra and Cassara. We need to talk, Commander. Hillevi let them both in. That slut, Cassara shouted. Selling everyone here out because she's horny. Calm down, Cassara, Demetra frowned. You calm down, Cassara snapped. I need a drink. Where's your beer? Cassara asked. I pointed to the fridge. Cassara walked over and grabbed a bottle from the fridge, flicking it open with her thumb. Freaking beaver damned by that horny bitch. She took a swig of beer. Do you know how long it's been since I had a decent fight? Cassara sneered at the beer, but continued drinking it anyway. To Hillevi. Commander, there's a coronation at the end of the week. You're being requested to organize the Royal Guard to administer the event. Hillevi frowned. Yes, Madam Stewart. I'll make sure everything is ready. I need the Royal Guard to leave our new Empress alone after the coronation ceremony, Demetra said. What? Why? Hillevi asked. So I can kick that bitch off the throne, Cassara growled, breaking the now empty glass in her hand before grabbing another beer. I sighed and went to get the broom. No, Cassara, you have no desire to lead. Demetra looked to us. I plan on challenging the Empress. You? All of us shouted. Demetra nodded. Yes. She turned to Cassara. Have you ever seen armor like that before? Cassara shook her head. Not personally. Felt like hitting a rock. My theory is that her armor is her strength. I heard Major Tanya Therodopoulos mention that she was bettering the door down on her own, which is impossible for anyone. That armor must be what's empowering her. I will challenge her for the throne. As a challenger, I can set the terms. I demand we fight without armor, and then I'll kill her, Demetra told us. Hillevi frowned. This is treason, she pointed out. Not if I win, Demetra clarified. Cassara sighed. If you lose, I leave. I mean it. And I'm taking Lana. I frowned. Maybe we can all just leave together? Stay. I shivered as Hillevi and Demetra fixed me both with glares. Fight. I closed my eyes. Eris was guiding me, and I made good on praising her, so I should keep listening. I was alive and well, wasn't I? Cassara rolled her eyes. This is their home. They won't leave, she said, draining a third beer. Okay, sorry. Demetra looked to Hillevi. Come, Commander, we have work to do. As they left, Cassara grabbed another beer. She faced me. Madison, if this all goes tits up, I mean it. I'm leaving. If you want to come with me, you're welcome to. I'll think about it, I answered. Cassara shook her head. It's a yes or a no, Madison. I've lived here for 5 years, and my home country won't even take me in. This is the only place I have any roots, I explained. Madison, if you come with me, I can protect you. That might not be the case if you stay. She adjusted her glasses while drinking the last bottle. That being said, it's your choice. She then stared at the bottle. Stay, I heard a voice whisper. This tastes like shit. Tell Hillary to get decent beer, she said, placing the empty bottle on the counter. It's non-alcoholic, I clarified. Well, today's one of those days, isn't it? Cassara grumbled as she left. Eris whispered to me. Good girl. So quoth this raven. Oh, so enjoyable this series is getting, my darlings. Thank you much for coming to listen once again. And special thanks to my Patreon supporters, Ermin, Darren and Jennifer, Laura, and Charlotte Emerson. If you like this, please hit the little button to let me know. If you didn't, hit the little button to let me know. Leave a comment. I'm always glad to talk with you, my darlings. I'm open to suggestions and criticisms, critiques. If you have not subscribed, please do so and ring the little bell so you know when to come up and see me. And I will talk to you next time, my darlings. Farewell.